the fear of making the wrong decision, the fear of making the move to leave your 9 to 5 and start a coaching business. It's not the, what if it doesn't work out and it fails? What if it doesn't work out, then I have no money, then I can't eat, then I can't do this, then I'm on the street, then I'll die.
Yeah.
It always comes back to that. Every time, your human brain needs evidence. And if you're scared of something, there's no amount of talking you can do inside your mind to convince yourself otherwise. You're not going to get better or more confident or less fearful of the thing until you actually do it. If it hadn't have been for pushing those edges, probably wouldn't have achieved some of the things that I've achieved. So the secret for me in reshaping my belief around fear and my relationship with fear is that
Hello, and welcome back to Beyond Your Breath podcast. I am your host, Shanni.
And I'm Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Back for another one.
And I personally love this topic because I feel like it's been like my life's work, this one. And it's definitely been my biggest lesson of 2024, which I've briefly touched on. Feeling the fear and doing it anyway. Dun, dun, dun.
Juicy.
Yeah.
Feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
What's your relationship with that? Like
With
feeling the fear and like the process that you go through when fear comes up so strong for you.
Yeah. It's different now than it used to be.
Yeah.
In the past, I very much was like paralyzed. Not paralyzed in the actual sense, but it would very much, I would freeze up in a functional way, and I would delay my decisions, and I would ponder on things for like a month, you know?
You were like that when we first got together.
I'm just going to think about it for another month. I'm just going to go over every possible thing in my head.
Yeah.
It's a bit different now. I think really the secret for me in reshaping my belief around fear and my relationship with fear is that I needed to start viewing it as this essential thing in order to grow. And if there was no fear, then I wasn't growing. So changing the way I viewed it, much like changing my relationship with things like rejection or doubt and things like this, and actually seeing them as a positive thing, even though they don't feel nice. Yeah. This is the hard part. Yeah. They don't feel good in the body. But knowing that, you know, over the past year of having to do a lot of things that scared the absolute fucker out of me, that I actually had more growth than ever, right? And more success than ever. And so if it hadn't have been for pushing those edges, probably wouldn't have achieved some of the things that I've achieved. So how do you approach it? Like, what does it feel like for you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This is definitely like I said, my life's lesson and work. Like I'm quite resilient. Ridiculously resilient at times that I surprise myself. And though this year has definitely tested my fear buttons. When you have to let go of something that you've spent a lot of your adult life building, it's quite challenging when it's not something that you thought about letting go of. So if I go back 10 years ago, I was leaving Perth, I was exiting my career, and I was so ready for it that the change didn't scare me because I was comfortable with the change that was coming because I had an idea of what it looked like.
Yeah, and you wanted it.
And I wanted it. You know, there was no unknown because I knew what I was hopefully moving towards, even though I didn't quite get there at the time. But it was okay. Whereas this year, letting go of something earlier in the year, letting go of something, my business at the time, that I put my heart and soul into, that fear was different.
How?
Because there was there was complete unknown. Like the depth of unknown almost to the point of death.
What scares you so much about the unknown?
Because I don't know what's there. I don't know what to do with it.
Just exposing your inner control freak.
Absolutely.
Step into our home and look how clean it is and you'll know everything.
Oh, there's layers to that though. Yes, the control, but also like I'm someone that I can't relax in my home unless it's clean.
I know, I'm just taking the piss.
just for anyone listening. Like, yes, like
She's not that psycho.
no, like I clean like when I feel like I'm in turmoil because it gives me a sense of control.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of that part of myself. Like the self-awareness is there for that.
Yeah.
But I also clean because I thrive in a clean environment.
100%.
I relax and I work better
Yeah.
when my environment is clean.
Well, this ain't about cleaning. Back to the fear.
Anyway, so back to the fear. Letting go of something that I put my heart and soul into that I wasn't ready to let go of, that I hadn't foreseen letting go of. That was the thing.
Yeah.
There was no foreseeing it. Hello, unknown. Right? And I had no flipping idea what to do on the other side because there wasn't the other side. There was nothing on that other side. I just let something go and that was it. And we completely started fresh.
Yep.
And there was also your fear. You know, you were holding this beautiful pillar of provider. So there was also your fear of like, what if it doesn't work out? What if this? What if that? What are we going to do? The family this, da-da-da, right? So there was all these things that contributed to my fear. So for me, fear is like a very, very tangible thing that I feel. You know, I often describe sometimes when I experience fear, like I could pick it up like a cup and hold it in my hand. Sometimes I feel it that intensely.
What does it feel like?
Like if I speak into my past with anxiety attacks, it starts as like a pins and needle feeling in my big toes. It starts from my toes and I feel pins and needles and then it starts to like ripple up my legs and I almost get like a numbing sensation as it moves up.
It's like a full visceral experience.
It's a full body experience.
Yep.
I'm like, oh
Yep.
my God, I am feeling this. Like it's a whole thing. It gets up to my chest and I have this moment of like an explosion that happens and it's like bang, like a shark's trying to eat me. Like,
Yeah.
like it's like that,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm about to die. And now when I get that tingling in my toe, it's not so much that it ripples up my body and I'm about to die. It's okay. I'm feeling it and I've got to fucking move. And so when I feel the fear, that's my cue to just keep pushing. So for me, I have a very healthy, it doesn't sound healthy with all those experiences, but I have a very healthy relationship with my fear because it doesn't stop me.
Yeah.
It pushes me to move faster.
Yeah.
And if it's not meant to work out with the decision that I make, I'm very quick to pivot.
Yeah.
But I'll just make a decision and I'll do it. And if it works and the unknown is amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
And if it's not, I'll pivot and do the fear process in another direction.
Yeah.
So I have a very, very healthy relationship with my fear. And in my opinion, it gives to me as opposed to takes from me.
And there's something that is underpinning this that's not actually the fear itself. Like the difference between someone that is, because two people, put them side by side, right? They feel fear. Everyone feels fear.
Everyone.
You're never actually going to take fear away, and nor do you want to.
No.
It serves you.
Serves
It's a
you.
survival emotion, right?
Yeah.
And it's so hardwired into your brain from the deepest primitive parts. But if you put two people side by side and there's a person that A, feels the fear and leans in anyway, or two, feels the fear and doesn't lean in, I honestly believe, after working with so many people, is the difference between those two people is the self-trust that they have.
Yeah.
When you say that, you know, I'm going to make a decision and I'm just going to go through it, and I can relate to this in the past, the fear of making the wrong decision.
Oh, yeah.
But that stops you from making any decision,
Yep.
right?
And then you're stagnant. You don't go anywhere.
That's right. You stay stuck where you are, and that's often worse because there's a reason why you're wanting to make a decision anyway.
And you don't want to stay stuck.
That's right.
There's people, you know, they go, I don't want to be stuck here. I don't want to do this anymore.
right.
You have to make the action. You got to do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you can make decisions and go, there is actually no real way of me 100% knowing how anything's going to go. But what I do know is that because I have developed this habit of leaning into the fear, seeing what's on the other side, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But what happens every time without failure is whether the outcome is good or bad, I make the next move.
Yeah.
And I make the next step,
Yeah.
and I make the next step. And so what starts to happen is there's a bit of self-trust that builds underneath, and it goes, well, I'll never really know how it's going to go. But what I do know about myself is that I either get resourceful or I find a way,
Yeah.
right? And having that belief about yourself and that trust is what makes people more open
Yeah.
to leaning into fear, because they trust themselves.
Yeah.
because you can't control anything outside of you.
This is like me speaking into like my resilience.
Yeah.
I'm very resilient, and I learned from a young age to be resilient.
Yeah.
I have a lot of trust in myself.
Yeah.
Even when I second guess myself, I trust that I'll just pivot.
Yeah.
You know, should I have done that? Well, I've done it. So I'm here.
Exactly.
I'm just going to commit to this. And if I need to change, I'll change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something that I've really like worked with is, you know, saying to myself, like, you're never really fucked.
No, never.
Because your mind, when it comes to fear, what's really interesting about fear is it all leads back to death.
Mm-hmm.
Because fear is the primitive survival emotion.
Yeah.
You know, stay away from that or your life is in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what it's designed to do.
Yeah.
Move away from pain, move towards pleasure, and stay safe.
Yeah.
So whether it's like, you know, the fear of making the move to leave your 9 to 5 and start a coaching business, it's not the, what if it doesn't work out and it fails? What if it doesn't work out, then I have no money, then I can't eat, then I can't do this, then I'm on the street, then I'll die.
Yeah.
It always comes back to that.
So deep-seated.
It is.
Yeah.
It always comes back to that.
I like the thing where it's like, ask yourself, I don't know, like 10 times, like, oh, I want to start a coaching business, but what if it doesn't work out? But why? But why?
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
And keep going down the chain of the but whys till you get to death.
Yeah.
Because then you'll get to the root cause of every decision you make.
Yeah. And it'll go there.
Yeah.
It'll take them to like, I'm afraid to be alone. What does it mean to be alone? Well, if you were alone 10,000 years ago, cast out of the pack,
You're dead.
you're fucked.
Yeah.
It's just, it comes back to that.
Yeah.
So it's about, you know, having that awareness of, you know, these surface level things that we get so attached to with fears. It's so much deeper than that. And I honestly think that part of growing and being able to lean into fear and to change your relationship with it is also making peace with that fear, fear of our own mortality as well, and living, because fear will stop you living.
Yes.
And that's the opposite of dying.
Yep. This is my personal journey with fear.
Yeah. And like, it's interesting to witness you, like, and maybe we can speak into it a little bit, like, because, you know, you are very much a person who, you know, makes the moves and takes the risks and does the things. But I, having been in a relationship with you, know this side of you of like how challenging the fear of death has been for you.
Yeah.
And still rears its head, you know.
Yeah.
And I think to an extent, like, no one wants to. No one's like sitting there waiting for it to happen.
This is like, oh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Well, there are people out there who think it's exciting.
There are.
Yeah.
But, you know, for some people like yourself, it does consume their thoughts a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
this is my greatest work of art in my life is, and I haven't got there yet, which is why I don't talk about it.
Yeah.
I believe in embodiment. I'm not embodied in it yet, but getting to a point of deep trust and faith and acceptance in death, because yes, you can follow religion and make choices to do it that way. I don't. I'm not saying that I don't believe in an afterlife, because I actually have no idea, because it's unknown, right? And that's the thing.
Yeah.
I have faith in the universe. I have trust in myself and the universal oneness. And I've had extraordinary experiences to show me that there is so much more than this 3D world.
Yep.
But I do struggle with the unknown. And I'm in the embodiment of that. And it is my life's work of art to find that and gift it back to the world. Because one thing I know is you'll always find your mirrors in life. You'll always find the people who mirror you or who are like you. And this has been my thing for as long as I can remember, the fear of death. And I have come into contact with so many beautiful people who have the same fears, some who are like me and it pushes them to live more, and some who are the complete opposite and it closes them off from living. And that breaks my heart.
It's what I was saying before, right?
Yeah.
What do you think separates those two? What comes to mind?
Instantly just thinking about my upbringing and having to do things myself often.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to make anything happen for myself, I had to do it.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed to have parents who allowed me to be very independent, pushed me to be very independent. And my father is such a unique man. He's so old school. You know, if you want it, you can build it, you can create it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you make shit happen. Almost to the negative side of a limiting belief where it's like you got to work hard. But I got the best parts of him in that I had to make my shit happen.
Yeah.
And I've always had that about me. And my mother, she worked very hard. She was always at work. She was a single parent. And I didn't see my dad as often as I saw her. I lived with her predominantly 80% of the time. So she was always out. She was always busy. She was always working. She was a go-getter. So I had to, one, take care of myself for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I just witnessed parents who were out there getting shit done and doing the thing. And so for me, I was very tolerant in that way.
Mm.
If I wanted something, I'd make it happen.
Mm.
And so in life, when the fear of death happens and I'm like, oh, what happens if I don't experience this? I'll fucking make it happen. I believe wholeheartedly that my ability to manifest the way I do, that's another episode, I think we've spoken about that in season 1, is I've always had to make things happen for myself. And things just magically happen sometimes, and sometimes I work really hard.
Mm.
And I think that's what it is for me personally.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes me different is I've never had anything handed to me, ever.
Yeah.
Even down to my first car. Like I had to get it myself. I had to work hard to get it. And so when it comes to living life, like I feel like I'm dying when I'm not living. That's how I manage my fear. If I go through like a month and I've only worked, I love I love our work and I love what we do. But if I have only done that and I've only served and I haven't had an adventure or done something new or done something for myself, I feel like I'm dying.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the scales tip too far, like I need to have adventure. I need to fuel my sense of life so that I feel like I'm living. Otherwise, my fear of death gets stronger.
It's very interesting, looking at upbringings. I think that has a massive part to play in so much of who we are.
Yeah.
Because the modelling, right?
And I think like adulthood too, like it does obviously start from childhood, but how you go through school, your first jobs.
Yeah.
Like if you're someone who just goes out and gets a job, like I had my first job at 14. I walked to the back door of a bistro and asked for a job washing dishes. That was my first job. Like if you're someone who has the ability to, I wasn't confident. I was fucking shitting myself.
Yeah.
But I just did it because like I didn't grow up with money and I wanted money.
You wanted money.
Right? And so it's like, again, that feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Because it's like what I want far outweighs the fear.
And how many times have you felt the fear and done the thing and had been tremendously rewarded for it?
Oh, like every time.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is
I'm yet to jump out of a plane. I'll let you know after that to see if that's a thing.
I always say that like fear is like a butthole.
Oh, yes.
Like super tight at the start. And then
just pop, opens up
Yeah.
into the abyss.
That's like, that might resonate for some of you and maybe not for some of you.
It's so true.
But, it's kind of like what I'm...
like the air in a balloon.
What I'm trying to get at here is when you are in fear in it is very, very constricted. Like everything feels really icky and tight and tense and it's like, oh, I don't fucking like this. And it could also, it might feel like you're traveling through this like vortex, right?
Yeah.
In space, this tiny space. But when you do what I just said before, right? Like you feel the fear and you're like, oh my God, this is full on, but I'm going to do it. I'm not turning away. And you get on the other side of it. There is this really strange, expansive feeling. And you're like, fuck, like how much time and how much energy did I waste over this thing that my brain constructed? Like, because it's an illusion.
Yep.
It's an illusion, right? It's a self-imposed illusion.
Yeah. Unless you're taking those last breaths, like your literal last breaths.
Yeah.
The fear, or you're facing down with a shark or a tiger.
Yeah.
That fear does not exist.
Exactly.
It's not actually a real thing.
There's those two types of fear, right? There's those survival-based, real-time, I am in danger fear.
Yeah. And
then there is the fear that the mind creates.
That's right.
Based on past experience.
That's right.
And there's that feeling of like, what was I worried about?
Yeah.
And you almost feel like a bit of a fuckwit. You're like, I am a goose. I spent so long on that. My knees were trembling. And there was no reason to actually
Yeah.
be that scared about it. And I think that is also the beautiful part and the benefit of doing this, you know, like leaning
Yeah.
into the fear anyway, is every time your human brain needs evidence. And if you're scared of something, there's no amount of talking you can do inside your mind to convince yourself otherwise. It goes,
You just
whatever,
gotta
mate.
go for
Whatever,
it.
mate. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to get better or more confident or less fearful of the thing until you actually do it.
I remember when we were getting up to speak on the Dream Fest stage and 400 people, and I literally was like, you know, thinking about what we're going to say, making sure we say it right. And then I was like, I need to stop thinking because I'm going to fucking psych myself out.
Yeah.
And I remember just before we walked onto the threshold, I kept myself busy. I kept talking to people. I kept like looking in my phone, anything just to keep myself busy because I was doing the thing. Like I was committed. I was walking over the barrier of the stage to step up in front of 400 people. So I kept myself busy up until that moment. And just before we walked on, I was standing there. I looked at you. We gave each other a funny look on our faces and took some deep breaths and walked over the threshold. And that moment was like the fear hit me.
Yeah.
Like walking over the threshold of the
Such
stage.
a big stage.
It was such a big stage.
There's a feeling of being totally exposed.
Totally exposed, like the most seen. And anyone who knows my history of my job, like I've been seen.
Oh yes, that's another episode.
That's another episode. I haven't talked about that on this. We'll do that one day.
That's definitely beyond the breath.
Yeah, so beyond the breath. But yeah, like exposed and seen, like in the most intense way. But after it, the reward, I felt like the queen.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get any fucking higher in my royalty mind.
Yeah. Well, that's because public speaking's more feared than death.
Except for me.
Yeah.
I will public speak a million times over before I face death.
But it's still up there.
Yeah,
It's still up
absolutely.
there. And it's because it's not just public speaking itself.
Yeah.
It's not even rejection. What I've learnt recently is it's more public humiliation.
Of course.
To be humiliated, there's that fear of like, fuck, I better say the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, what if someone says this? What if I get something thrown at me? What if I fall over? What
They're
if I
going to
pass
throw
out?
apples at me? Fuck.
Yeah. What if I pass out and vomit because I'm so scared? There's a million things.
Yeah.
But it's important to know that like your mind will construct these illusions, and unless there is some sort of physical thing there that is going to harm you, you really need to just check in with that.
Yeah.
And just go, okay, like this is just, and if you can give yourself just like a couple of spaces of like 3-4 seconds, and you just go, okay, my brain is obviously trying to save me and serve me and protect me, and you can just have a conversation with yourself.
Have conversations with yourself. Like some psychology things will tell you that you're crazy if you do that. It's a good thing to have conversations with yourself, empowering, strong conversations. Okay, fear. Hello. Yes, I know you're there. Thank you for keeping me safe.
Yeah.
I'm still going to do this thing because I am actually safe.
You're discerning between like schizophrenia and like,
Strong, empowering conversations.
In the DSM manual of diagnostics for mental health, that would probably say that you've got, you're a bit cuckoo. But having that internal dialogue.
Yes.
Because
it's there anyway.
And the monologue that we have
hide it.
playing out, just by nature, like I don't think many people are born with this beautiful monologue in their head. Like so many of us grow up being really hard on ourselves.
Well, it's
really
scientifically
self-conscious.
proven that you will think negative thoughts over positive thoughts because it is your nervous system's way of keeping you
It's
safe.
called the negativity bias.
That's the one.
9 times more negative thoughts than positive ones.
Yeah, because you have to be kept safe. Because if you walk up to the edge of a building and you're going, oh, this is so beautiful, I'm just going to walk off the edge and fly and everything's going to be great because I'm so positive and everything's all rainbows and butterflies, bye death.
Yeah.
You know, like, or don't do
delusional.
that. That's very close to the edge. Like, you're going to die. Like, it needs to be there on a primitive level.
Absolutely.
This is why, it is important to recognize it and have the conversation with it and make it more positive. I'm very good at that. But my personal development journey did start at 20 years old learning about Louise Hay.
Yeah.
I read You Can Heal Your Life, and then I went deep into like affirmative language and metaphysical.
Oh, metaphysics. Oh, everything is metaphysical.
Yeah, I went deep.
You can't just have a fucking cold. Sometimes I'm like, yes, babe, I hear you, and
maybe I'm just unwell.
stop attaching meaning to everything.
Yeah.
Coming from the dude who attaches meaning to a lot of things.
Yeah.
We all do it. Our brains are meaning-making machines.
That's right. But yeah, I did that work like young and early, and I'm now 35. So, you know, that's been 15 years of really like, yeah, I still get all the negative thoughts just as much as every other person.
Of course.
But I have a very strong voice that can counteract it
Yeah.
very quickly, almost to a detriment that I forget that not everyone's like that. And I love you, Chris. I know I pull you up on it all the time.
Yeah, like I just call myself a realist, and
Yeah.
sometimes that
Often he'll come in and like say something and I'm like, babe, like, make it positive. And it can be a bit of a thing.
I'm just like, mate, a spade's a spade. Like I'm
Yeah.
all good. Like doesn't mean I don't have positive thoughts. I'm just real. Like sometimes my head is fucked up. And I like it in a weird way. I relaxed to serial killer docos.
Yeah, it's
You
so
know?
funny.
Anyway,
It's so
I'm going to stop that after a week of being murdered in my dreams.
That's another episode that I reckon we could do too, like
Definitely.
speaking into the mindset of, that sort of stuff. I would love to do that. I'll make sure we get that done, guys.
So, what are you doing to face your fears this year?
Acting a little bit quicker. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. My thing is like I always act.
Yeah.
Like I very rarely sit in fear.
Do you think there's a downside to that?
Oh, look, maybe, but I get shit done. So
I don't know if I want you to act any quicker.
yeah,
Sometimes.
I don't know. Maybe it's like,
because you already act quick, and I'm like, if you go any faster, then you might not think about.
yeah, well, that's where I'm like, maybe it's like maybe going a little bit slower. But I think if I went slower, then I might drop into a freeze. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't tried it. Maybe I'll try it.
Try that.
Yeah, I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But no, but for me, it's like on certain things, like public speaking is a great one. Like I will still sit on the fence about putting myself out there a bit. Podcast, easy.
Well,
I will sit here on a mic with cameras any day with anyone. You know, like I'm like, put me in front of Tony Robbins. I'll have the best conversation. I'll hold it. I'm so solid in that. But put me on a stage next to Tony Robbins.
it's not Tony Robbins.
It's got nothing to do with who. You know, it's because I'm in front of people live.
Yeah.
Exposed. So, yeah, my thing is I subjectively could be a bit quicker with some things.
Right. And just more so like, I think what it sounds like to me is more so recognizing the ways that you sideline yourself if fear is present.
I very much do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'll just sit over here where I'm comfy.
Yeah.
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 That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good level of awareness.
Yeah, like that would be like the one thing. I'll still do it. I eventually still get there.
Of course.
But just being a bit quicker and
With that stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
No, that's great. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the same way, going quicker.
Yeah.
But in specific areas. So like I'm fast at everything.
Yeah.
I always have been.
Yeah.
Slow is not a word in my world. But where I'm sort of, I guess, dialing in on with this is I have had a pattern, you know, in the past of, you know, overanalyzing.
Yeah.
Very much overanalyzing and slowing myself down. And like to a healthy level, like I don't think it's always a bad thing because I zoom out and I very much look at everything. So when I want to take a risk or make a decision, it is very calculated.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good trait to have.
It's not such a quality that I have.
That's why I'm like, don't go faster. Because then that's like...
Get done.
Yeah. That borderline's like impulsivity then, babe. I don't know about that. Then we're going to be fucking cleaning up the scraps.
I know. No,
I did this and I wish I didn't now.
Babe. Help.
I think I'm very good at slowing down and looking outside the box.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do want to do more, and I think I spoke about this on a recent episode that we did, was actually not even so much going quicker, but just allowing myself to dream bigger.
Yeah.
Because I think one of the fears that I've had, which is, I mean, fuck, if this is small, then I would like to see playing big because I still managed to do pretty cool things.
Come to the Delulu side.
But just having a little bit more of a healthy level with that, or letting myself dream.
Yeah.
I think I can get pretty like rigid and
yes, you can.
Yeah, and I know that about myself. I really do know
We don't
that.
have a lot of frictions in the way of like we have frictions, everybody does, but we don't have many consistent ones.
No.
That's definitely one of our more consistent ones.
Yeah, it is. Like we definitely think differently there.
I'm like, no, babe, bigger, like way bigger.
And to be honest, I get lost in the strategy of how that's going to happen. So that's something for me to, and that might change as the business grows, as I put more people in that focus on the how.
Yeah.
And then I just allow myself to
Watch the magic
go a
happen.
bit bigger and go, well, fuck, like now I'm just going to open my mind even more. But I think something that I really want to do is lean into that and not be scared to dream big. And if I really think about where that came from, what's coming to me is that I don't think I ever had the space to allow myself to dream big. I very much had to stay in this, I've got to be here and now and on guard and alert and how's things working. And so now being an adult and having the space and the freedom to do that, it's challenging myself because it feels uncomfortable. I go to dream really big and I'm like, oh, like I want it.
Too. Like in the past, you were in a business where that wasn't celebrated.
Yeah.
Or, projected much.
Yeah.
And then like us as children, like we love our parents, but that wasn't part of our upbringings, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So it's like you're now getting comfortable with the bigger dreaming. Whereas like for me, I always had to do it.
Yeah.
I always had to figure things out myself.
Yeah.
I was always on my own.
Yeah, and so was I. But it was just different. Like you spoke about how, you were on your own, but then your parents were very much people who modeled getting shit done. Like my mum was like that, but what I've really learned is mine was kind of like the opposite. And the reason why I became resilient and why I became a go-getter was watching people not be. And I was like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Yeah. Like, I am not. And so that was the opposite thing. It wasn't, it was the reverse modeling of that. I was like, no. Yeah. So, two peas in a pod in different ways.
Absolutely. And it's just like towards and away from,
Of course.
Yeah.
I think for the biggest part of my life, I've been more driven by away froms.
And me towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now it's just the balancing act of that and having some still healthy away froms that remind me of why I never want to go to a certain place.
Just for context, like away from is like away from the pain of something or towards the pleasure of something.
Yeah. And I think it's important to
be towards the pleasure
to have,
all the time.
A healthy level of both and remember like why you want to move away because, ultimately we are motivated by the pain or pleasure.
Yeah. It's a great thing to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your pains are just the deepest pains in your life. Why are you moving away from them? And that can be really powerful. Alex Hormozi, I think he put a post up the other day. I'm like, man, this is really, it's just very edgy, but he was like, it doesn't matter what drives you, shame, guilt, blah, blah, like all these negative things. He's like, all that matters is that it drives you. And I'm just like, whoa. I
said to our mentor about my fear of death, and he, first and foremost, in his beautiful way, like, you fear something is what's going to happen. Like,
nonchalant.
That does not help. But then it was, what he said afterwards was, he said, is it a problem? Like, does it stop you from living? And I was like, no, it pushes me to live more. And he goes, so it serves you.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Changing perception.
I would still rather not have anxiety attacks about it. But like, it fucking pushes me to live my life.
Yeah.
So much.
So it's a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is forcing you towards living.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. Amazing. So great. Feel the fear and do it anyway, guys. If you've loved this episode, please hit the subscribe button, follow button, all the buttons. Give us some love so we know that you enjoyed it. Share it with your loved ones, your family.
The world to us. And it is how we get bigger guests on this podcast. It's how we grow it and make it more amazing for you guys. And that's the goal. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in, as always. And we'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one.